Hey everyone, whoa, what is this? This is a second camera angle? That's crazy. Hi buddy. And now you can see Daisy as she interrupts me while I'm recording. That, and I now have a microphone. That's pretty exciting, right? Hi buddy. This is very hard to film with a cat that's probably just rubbing her face on the microphone. So, why are we here today? Well, I want to talk about the Sega Game Gear. Specifically, my Sega Game Gear. Daisy, don't chew on the microphone, you little goblin. This was basically my childhood right here. This wasn't my first experience with video games or anything like that. We had the original Nintendo NES when I was a kid. But that was the family's. This was my very own. Daisy, will you stop chewing on the microphone? This was mine. This was my very own console, or handheld, whatever you want to call it. So it kind of was special to me. I got this for Christmas one year. I remember getting asked by my parents before that Christmas, asking, Sean, what would you rather have? And I was presented, I remember this vividly, I think it was like a Toys R Us catalog, and I had the choice of the original Game Boy or the Sega Game Gear. For me, it was an obvious choice. I had to go with the Game Gear. I mean, to have that color display just was so cool to me. You have to realize, when this came out, the Game Boy Color didn't exist yet. Now I know there was also the Lynx, which also had a color screen, but young Sean did not know about the Atari Lynx, and my parents also didn't know about that. This wasn't really an option. It basically was, did I want the original Game Boy, or did I want the Sega Game Gear? That year when I got it for Christmas, I remember it being the most mind-blowing thing. I genuinely didn't believe my parents got this for me when I got it. There's a VHS recording somewhere lost to time, but the Christmas that I got this, my shock was unbelievable when I opened up the package and saw the Sega Game Gear. So this ended up being such a huge part of my childhood because of the fact that everywhere I went as a kid, I took this with me. Any road trips, any family vacations, we had a cabin way up north that didn't have any electricity or anything, but we burned through a ton of batteries because I played the heck out of this as a child. This was always super special to me, to be able to just, anywhere I wanted to go, I was able to play my video games. As I got older, eventually this got replaced. The PlayStation came out and I just kind of grew out of this, realistically, and I stopped playing it. And then my sister went to college. It was the late 90s when she went to college, and I don't remember being asked, but she took it with her, and that was the last I saw of it. It was just gone to college with my sister for a period of time. Eventually she came back from college, as people do. When I saw my sister again after college, I sneakily took my Game Gear back. But yeah, and that's, she ended up covering the whole bottom with ladybug stickers, which a lot of them have come off over time. There's still a couple here. And when I went to play it again, well, when you turn it on, you don't really get a picture anymore. Yep, the same fate befell my poor Game Gear that happens to all Game Gears. The capacitors failed on it, as they all do, they all leak. I really feel like it's time that I recap my old Game Gear and bring back my childhood again and get this thing going. So I'm gonna do this video kinda quickly. Realistically, there's hundreds of videos on YouTube of people doing it and doing it better than I will do. But I just kind of want to bring you along on the process of me bringing this back. It's going to be a lot of fun. This is Bailey, by the way. Bailey. So let's get to it. Let's crack this open. I have not opened this one yet. I really hope it doesn't look terrible on the inside, and I hope this is just a quick, easy fix. All right, so enough rambling about my childhood. Let's just jump into this, get my old Game Gear working again, and relive my childhood. All right, we got our Game Gear in front of us. Let's take her apart. So I already took the batteries out of this earlier, so we don't have to do that step. All right, now you only have a couple screws on the back. You've got 6 of them, and then you have the one security bit up there. So you will need Sega's security bit driver. All right, and as you can see, all the terminals look really clean, which is good. I didn't leave batteries in it, and apparently my sister didn't, thank God, when she took it up to college with her. So this is the one little Gamebit, little security bit up there. No. Oh, I missed a screw, dang it. That really doesn't want to come out, come out. There we go. All right, so you want to open it basically from the bottom up, and take off my little wrist strap there. So, very important when you're getting capacitors, you want to look at the actual board that it is. There's, I think, 3 different boards. I don't remember off the top of my head, but should say on the left side. I've encountered a couple that don't, which is really frustrating, but you'll see right there. So this one's VA1. When you're buying capacitors, you want to make sure they're for VA1 Game Gears. And yeah, there's the inside of it. I can already see right now, right here, I can already see right here that these capacitors have already started leaking. I know our soundboard also isn't working, so we're gonna have to take a look at that one. But while we're in here, even though the power board is working, might as well just replace them anyways. So yeah, so we're gonna have to get a capacitor kit for a VA1 board. We'll do a brief little cut and order some capacitors, and then we'll return. All right, we're back. We have our new capacitor kit through Console 5. That's who I've always gone through for capacitors for any of the gaming systems that I've ever had to work on. They also always included an atomic fireball candy for some reason. I don't know why, but it gives you something to snack on while you're working. So here is our Game Gear VA1 capacitor kit for our VA1 board. All right, so let's just take this apart right now. So we're gonna unplug the soundboard and the power board. Remove that. That's our speaker. It's up front. Now the other thing is the speaker theoretically could also have failed. It's up here. We don't know. Oh, we'll find out after everything is done. We'll see what's going on. So I'm gonna set this aside because we're gonna work on this later on. We're just gonna start off on this half of the Game Gear. So next, I've seen some people solder them in the shell, because everything you need is on this side. There's nothing you're gonna need that's on the other side. I don't like doing that because I've watched people take their hot soldering iron and then make a little mistake and then just melt part of the shell. I personally recommend taking it out. Better safe than sorry. So that's what I'm gonna do. We just have a bunch more little Phillips head screws. These Phillips head are slightly larger size. Alright. So, oops, there's our little membrane pads. The capacitors in a Game Gear are slightly different than most people might be used to seeing. They're still the normal, regular electrolytic capacitors, but for some reason, I don't have an answer as to why, for some reason, Sega put them in these little plastic shields, I guess. It didn't really seem to help anything because they all failed. Every Game Gear is notorious for the capacitors failing on them. 100% of them have that problem. And if it doesn't have it yet, it's going to have that problem. So if you have a Game Gear and you haven't resoldered capacitors on them, you need to do it. If not, they're just gonna make a mess of things. What you'll have to do with a Game Gear is you'll have to break this off very gently, because these are glued. So not the actual, you don't want to break the legs off, but you want to break the plastic. The plastic is glued to the board. So you're going to want to just give it a good twist and it'll come off, and then you'll desolder the plastic, you'll desolder the capacitor. So that came up real easily. You can kind of see the glue underneath. And then this little plastic shield here, you can kind of see this is just a normal electrolytic capacitor that's underneath it. Now when we're, I don't know if you can see this, but we have, on any of our capacitors, we have a couple numbers. We have our positive, negative down there. Then we have our voltage, which that's 6.3, and then we have our microfarads, which this one's 22. So for our replacement here, we have the negative is going to be the little gray strip. On any of them, you'll have the little gray strip is our negative. This one is 10 volts, which it's okay that the voltage is higher. We're allowed to go higher on the voltage. It just can't go lower, otherwise it'll pop. So, and then we just want to make sure our microfarads are matched. So this is 22 microfarads. This one is 22 microfarads. So that's all the same, which is what we need. So we're gonna have to remove that. All right, so I'm gonna turn on my soldering iron over here. I'm gonna heat up the legs on the capacitor with a little bit of solder. I'm also gonna put a little towel under here to stop any scratches on the screen. Just kind of give it a little bit of protection. I also don't care about that towel if I burn it. So once we heat up the legs, we can start pulling at the same time. And if we're lucky, it'll just remove itself, but oops, that side got resoldered. All right, now the absolute best part about working on a Game Gear, or anything where the electrolytic capacitors have leaked, it smells like fish. It smells like dead fish. I don't understand it. I don't know why. It's whatever the materials in the electrolytic capacitor as they leak on the board, that's the odor they make, and it's a terrible odor. It smells like dead fish, and I hate it. All right, so we're gonna clean that up with some isopropyl alcohol real quick. We're gonna clean this whole board in it when we're done specifically, but I just wanna make sure that we get that cleaned up. That also is one way whenever trying to diagnose something. If you smell the smell of just rotting dead fish, capacitors have gone bad. That's it's kind of a safe assumption there. Just absolutely love that. That's just terrible. Just gonna clean up both those pads real quick. And we can put on the new one. So what we'll have to end up doing is, obviously our legs are goofy long right now and we can't just leave them sticking off. And this isn't a normal through hole because you can see it doesn't go straight through. So what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to bend the legs on this. I have to bend them, and then I'm going to solder them on there. Now, the good news is the board does indicate the positive and the negative. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, it'd help if the camera's focused. But there's a tiny little plus sign next to that pad there. So I know we want to solder the gray side over here. So the gray side is going to be onto that pad. It's gross. It smells terrible. All right, so we have to cut the legs here. Solder on there. And oh my god, it smells like fish. I keep saying that over and over again. It's so gross. That was not a good job. All right, so that is how it's done. It's very tedious, and I'm gonna do this a bunch more times. I'm basically not gonna talk through this because I'm just gonna try to fly through it as quickly and as best that I can. This is just gonna be a fast forward, sped up process here. So fun fact here, the electrolytic material, when it spills onto the board like this, it also kind of makes it harder to desolder it. I've seen people just try to just yank them off. I don't recommend doing that because you could damage the pads that you're on the board that you're trying to attach to, which just makes life way more difficult in the future when you're resoldering it. When I say in the future, I mean like 20 seconds later. But just be slow, patient, and use isopropyl alcohol, a little bit of extra solder. Just keep working it in there and you'll clean it up. This guy in the corner is the one that I hate the most. This is the one that's up there with probably the hardest. Well, that and the soundboard. The soundboard's gonna be the hardest part. Every time I've done this, I've melted this cord over here. Not enough to damage it, but just got a little too close. Well, the good news, I didn't damage the pads, so. If I can get away with not melting the cord, that is the goal. Guys, I am not a professional, and I barely know what I'm doing. So, if that isn't abundantly clear, I don't know how else to make it clear. So I have not been soldering very long. This is still something that's fairly new to me. So try not to as I say that as I launch that out of my hand. I've not been soldering very long, so try not to judge too hard on my very novice soldering skills. But I'm learning, and you guys are along for the ride as I'm learning here. Well, it looks like I got that on there without cooking the cord over here, so I'm pretty proud of myself. But yeah, so yeah, I'm still really new to this, and this is just kind of a fun learning process for me as I go around fixing things that I love, which are old electronics and old video game consoles. If any of you guys have more experience than I do and have tips for me, I'm all ears. I'm always willing to learn because Lord knows I can use the help. All right, so we got these two here. Do I want to tackle those first or this boy? I have a feeling this one's going to smell especially bad because I can see that it's been leaking. Yeah, it doesn't even want to come loose. Ooh, that stinks. Ooh. Oh, well, the legs just came off. It's not what I was trying to do. Hey, look at it, look at all that. Focus on it or not, but yeah, it's that one right there has definitely been leaking. That's gross. That looks terrible. Good job. Oh, that smells real bad. I don't know what's on this one. It looks like there's glue on the side here. I don't like that this glue is just on this chip right here. Oh, there we go. Oh, we got some corrosion here. Uh-oh. That doesn't look good. I think it's all right here and didn't go to the chip. Okay. Oh, yeah, just fell apart. Man, I was trying to avoid that. All right, so we are done with the main board. We've soldered on all of our capacitors here on both sides. That's all done. There's still a little bit of a mess that I have to clean up, but that's fine. Now, all we have left, we're gonna have the power board and we have the sound board. Also, I kind of want to clean up this side because it's really gross. Like, it's genuinely really gross. Okay. We're gonna set this aside for the time being. Oops, something fell. And let's work on the next part of this. There we go. So this is the power board, a little different than the last board we just worked on. These are through hole, so we're just gonna have to desolder on this end and then pop them out. I find it easier on the power board to hold it upside down with some little helping hands here, and then just kind of wiggle it free. Come on, come free. There we go. Golly. Such a pain in the butt. So we'll have to put our new capacitor through these holes now. The white strip is going to match up with the white strip on the side, which is our negative. Let's just solder our legs on. And trim them down. Trim down the little excess a bit. One down, 2 more to go. That one at least came out real easy. There we go. All right. I forgot to. All right, power board should be done. So we can actually reassemble this right now. Well, I'm gonna clean up this mess first. All right, we can put you back together. I'm gonna clean this first before I fully assemble it. All right, now that the power board has been resoldered, let's handle the soundboard, which we already know is bad. So this is my least favorite part, which is why I put this off for last. So I'm really not looking forward to this. Let's get this apart. First, we got to take our little shield off. Now, this board also is different than the last two. So these have these flat surface mounted capacitors. Ideally, you would have a heat gun desoldering tool that would remove these, and then basically you could heat up the solder again with it and then leave them on and put them on there and the solder to it. I don't own one. So I've got to do this the pain in the butt way with an actual soldering iron, and yeah, I hate doing this, but we gotta get it done. Now, the right way to do that, like I said, would be to use heat and then loosen it up. I'm not gonna do that. I'm going to twist these off with a pair of pliers, which is, you know, not the smartest way to do it.
but it's how I've always done it, and it's worked every time, and I'm gonna hope that it works this time too. Alright. Yep, can already smell the fish smell. That's great. We already know that these have failed because, like I said, the sound doesn't work. It's always gross every time you get to smell that fish smell. So now I'm gonna put solder on these pads. I'm gonna take our new capacitor here. We gotta match up negative with our negative. Alright, now to get these all on there. Once again, I know this is not the best way to do it, but honestly, if anyone knows of a better way that doesn't involve me buying another tool, unless someone wants to generously buy me a tool to reflow heat, please let me know, because I would love a better way than this. Cool, after melting my finger and struggling with all that, apparently my camera stopped recording at some point, so y'all got to miss the struggle bus that I went through, but I think they're on there. We'll find out. that really did not go as planned. So we're gonna put this all back together, see if it works. I really did a terrible job of putting this together. But after burning my finger really bad, we're just gonna hope that it's good and I don't have to mess with it again. The best part about me burning my finger, I did it without swearing because I knew I was filming and I didn't want to, you know, swear in my video. And then it turns out the camera wasn't even recording. So, that just burned that. There's just melted solder on my mat now. If I can clean this up without cooking my mat. That sucked. All the nice clean buttons. Put everything through the ultrasonic cleaner, so now everything should be nice and clean. Why am I struggling to get that to go in there? Oh. Well, it's dumb. Okay. Oh, I almost forgot the start button, or the power switch. Of course, it's already put back together. Alright, put the power switch back on. I had to take the power board back out to put the power switch back on that I forgot. Alright. Now, let's finish putting this back together. I'm really riding the struggle bus on this one. I can't believe I keep just skipping steps. Frustrated with myself. But it's okay. We'll get there. We'll get this thing apart. We'll get it back together, I should say. Hopefully. There we go. Reminder, pay attention to what you're doing and don't try to rush through it like I just did. Because mistakes will happen. I mean, mistakes will happen either way. It's just kind of part of the nature of it, but try not to get too frustrated with yourself. It's one of the things I always struggle with, is I'm always a little too hard on myself. But, you just gotta have fun, you know? I'm just putting in 2 screws to hold it together for right now. And we're gonna see if it actually works. If it doesn't, we'll have to take it all apart again, and I will cry. And no one wants to watch me cry. Or at least I hope you guys don't want to watch me cry. It's kind of a jerk move if you want to watch me cry. Alright. Let's throw some batteries in it. Okay, well, power's on. Does it read a game, or did I mess up? Let's find out. Or is there an even deeper problem? Oh, we have picture. Do we have sound? Oh, heck yes. Look at that, guys. It has been so long since I've played this. I'm gonna clean all this off. I just want to get it working first. I know I should have cleaned it up first, but I'm just so excited to get this thing working again and just taking me back, you know? God, this screen is terrible. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I think we have our first problem. The right does not seem to be working. Uh-oh. Looks like this is coming back apart, because the good news is, guys, screen works, sound works, soldering complete. Now we gotta figure out why the D-pad isn't working, and I want to take it back apart just to clean this up anyway, so. But yeah, there we go. That's awesome. Okay. So we know the D-pad wasn't working when we put this all back together, and I felt kind of strange. So I grabbed some of my other Game Gears, because obviously you gotta have multiples. And I noticed that the D-pad sticks out a good distance on the other Game Gears. So I don't know if it's showing up on camera, but these stick out a fair distance, whereas this is pretty much kind of flush. So if you can see how much farther that's raised up, I'm guessing it's with the actual the membrane pad underneath. I noticed when I took it apart that one of the eye loops had a tear in it. So I think that might be the issue. I'm not sure. I preemptively grabbed a third Game Gear. No, this is fourth Game Gear. I preemptively grabbed a fourth Game Gear that this one had really bad water damage. It's in very rough shape. Future video, probably. So I grabbed this one, and I'm going to temporarily rob the little membrane pad underneath for this one, and we're gonna see if that fixes it. If we get this one working here, I'll just find a replacement for this. Whatever. Alright, so I just want to show you. This is the one that was on there. Obviously you can see this is torn right here. The little membrane is torn. This is the one out of the water damaged unit, which is in better condition. So we're just gonna put that on there. Because when I opened this back up, this had removed itself from there. It was spun sideways, which should be the problem. So I'm gonna put it all back together and we're gonna see if that fixes it. All right, now that we've robbed the D-pad out of my poor water damaged Game Gear, let's throw some batteries in it, because the D-pad looks and feels good. I'm hoping it works now. And then we can clean it and be done with it. Such a terrible screen. But our D-pad is working. I don't know if any of that's showing up on camera or not. But man, when I was a kid, this was the best thing ever. Alright. We know it works now. Perfect. Let's clean up all of this just residue that's on here from the ladybugs that my sister had infest my Game Gear with. And yeah, we should be done after that. I can finally enjoy my Game Gear again. I think I'm gonna keep that other little ladybug on there. I was kind of gonna keep both of them, but once I hit this with the isopropyl alcohol, it just really, the color came right out of it. I'm gonna keep that on there for a while. It's kind of part of the little story of the life of my little Game Gear, and it's travels so far, and also it kind of helps me separate it from all my other Game Gears that I have right now. But yeah, I think I'll keep this little guy for a while, and if it eventually starts to peel or fade off, well, that'll be the end of that, I guess. I'm gonna use a toothbrush now to get into the cracks. I'm just using isopropyl alcohol to clean this up. But yeah, just to clean this, all we're using is some isopropyl alcohol and a toothbrush. That's all you really need most of the time to clean a lot of this off. If it's anything more stubborn than that, then you can break out some harder chemicals. Alright, that's the video. We have our working Game Gear now. It's nice and clean. We did lose one of the two ladybugs, but that's quite alright. It's looking the best it's looked in quite some time. Screen is still pretty scuffed up and scratched up, but that's just part of the normal wear and tear of them. You can buy replacement lenses for these now. There's a big aftermarket for them. I'm gonna keep it as is. This was my, original, and I want to keep it as original as I can. But yeah. So, I am gonna go play some Micro Machines for the first time in many, many years. I've had this thing on for only less than a minute and the battery's already blinking. It's already burning through batteries. But yeah, you know the drill. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, follow, blah, 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 whatever. Put a comment. Was your favorite Game Gear game? Was Game Boy better? You Atari Lynx fan? I don't know. What is... Speaking of Lynx, what is your favorite large cat? Is it the Lynx? Lynx was kind of cool. I don't know where I'm going with this. Alright, goodbye guys. I'm just gonna jam out to this music for a little longer. Alright, goodbye for real.